Alex Preddy, when he was shot, his hands were on the ground. He did not have a firearm in his hand. Border Patrol should not have been there.
I feel like our administration wanted this type of escalation. I don't think Renee Good deserved to be killed. We sometimes feel like they're waiting for one of us to be shot and killed.
What did you think about the Alex Preddy shooting?
That one was also particularly traumatic. We were already in such a low morale situation. The way Border Patrol is operating, vigilante-ish, it feels lawless, operating as if anyone who looks like they may have crossed the border or didn't come from here is here illegally.
Trump has a growing ICE problem, both in regards to messaging and legal repercussions, which we will get to. But first, independent news channel Channel 5, hosted by Andrew Callahan, released a pretty damning documentary that should be getting more coverage that featured various ICE agents speaking out against this administration and in particular the chaotic situation that unfolded in Minneapolis. Callahan interviewed several ICE agents under the protection of anonymity who discussed things like the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, as well as the, quote, want for escalation that is present within the agency, which, is a sharp contrast to what Trump and his MAGA contingent would have you believe regarding Border Patrol under their guidance.
Alex Preddy, when he was shot, his hands were on the ground. He did not have a firearm in his hand. Border Patrol should not have been there.
I feel like our administration wanted this type of escalation. I don't think Renee Good deserved to be killed. We sometimes feel like they're waiting for one of us to be shot and killed.
What did you think about the Alex Preddy shooting?
That one was also particularly traumatic.
Since Trump got into office, there's been 33% less federal agent hours spent pursuing child predators than there was beforehand. Have there been child exploitation cases basically thrown out as a result of moving HSI manpower over to places like Minneapolis to enforce immigration?
There have absolutely been leads uninvestigated or closed out prematurely because we don't have the manpower or the priority. It definitely feels like my purpose has been destroyed. I have no doubt that the American people have lost their faith in us. I lost our faith in us.
Minneapolis is not in a better place than it was before Metro Surge. In fact, it's in a worse place. DHS's shenanigans in Minnesota over the winter cost the city of Minneapolis approximately $200 million in losses, $5 million in police overtime hours, $81 million in lost revenue for local businesses, and workers lost over $47 million in wages.
We were already in such a low morale situation. The way Border Patrol is operating, vigilante-ish, it feels lawless, operating as if anyone who looks like they may have crossed the border or didn't come from here is here illegally. I don't know that they're properly educated on the laws. You can't just see somebody walking on the street and assume that because they're in a Hispanic neighborhood that they are here illegally.
I had another white officer point directly at me like, hey, get his brown ass in line with the other detainees. And that's where it kind of dawned on me like, oh, these guys kind of have something against individuals of colors, or at least a few of their staff members do.
But what is important to note here is, yes, these are essentially whistleblowers, right? Speaking to what's going on behind the scenes, and that could be seen as anecdotal. But when you partner it with what we also know to be true in the courts, it only further reinforces the image of an agency gone rogue. According to a political analysis recently, judges have ruled against Trump's ICE mandatory detention policy more than 10,000 times since the agency expanded mandatory detention. Politico found that judges have rejected ICE detention practices in roughly 90% of the cases reviewed. 90%.
That's right. There has to be accountability at the top. There also has to be accountability for the people that killed Renee Good, killed Alex Preddy, shot Julio Sosa Celis. Just a couple of days ago, there was an announcement by our local Hennepin County attorney that there were, in fact, going to be charges of this really horrific shooting that does not get as much attention as that of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, but was arguably one of the worst. We had people, United States citizens or residents, that were doing nothing wrong. It looks like that they were shot from behind. A bullet almost hit a little kid. They were then torn apart from their families while you had this federal administration and ICE agents that were lying about what took place. They were trying to create this narrative that they were attacked, that both Julio Sosa Celis was trying to kill them, that the local residents were beating them up with shovels. All of it was a flat out lie.
And it's not just a few rogue judges, right? It includes judges appointed by both parties, judges that have objected to what they describe as unconstitutional detention practices, with judges criticizing ICE's tactics as violating constitutional protections, with one judge describing agency behavior as, quote, villainy. I mean, when you look at that, it's not far removed from how several of these ICE agents in this documentary are describing the agency that they are a part of. And all of it is especially damaging for Trump, right? Because ICE, it's not some side issue, and it's about to be put even more so under the spotlight with the World Cup coming up.
Let's look a little bit wider. You've got a lot of big events this summer, America 250 events, the World Cup coming. I know you recently said in an interview that you had some concerns about the locked up funding for DHS and ICE with these big events coming. How concerned should we be about potential attacks at any of these this summer?
Well, we have the FIFA that's going to have 78 Super Bowls in 38 days here in the United States in 11 cities. Seriously, that's what 30 or 78 Super Bowls in 39 days. That's a lot. We have obviously Freedom 250 that DHS employees are working very hard for. We're getting ready for the World Military Games that follow right after that. And then we have the Olympics in 2028. What happened with FIFA and Freedom 2028 is because we were in a shutdown for 76 days and the Democrats were just playing this political game because they want open borders and they don't want to deport criminals that's walking down our streets. They put us in a position where we were just being reactive to threats that were facing us leading up to these games. The first game is played in Mexico on June 11th. First game in the U.S. will be June 12th in L.A. And we had MOUs, memorandums of understanding, with local law enforcement in all 11 cities. Unfortunately, we wasn't able to even reimburse them since February. We had contractors for drone security. We had CISA, which takes care of cybersecurity, which lost 1,100 people, a third of their workforce. You can't have games, you can't have connectivity with local law enforcement, emergency management without having secured cyber. And all because the Democrats were playing these games, they put this entire thing at risk. And so we are now leaning forward, Martha, trying to be extremely proactive, but we are months behind because of what took place.
Wow, that's very interesting and unsettling.
It's central to his political identity. He promised mass deportations. He promised aggressive enforcement. He promised to empower immigration agents, but those very agents are speaking out. And now the courts are saying over and over and over again, you may have empowered them beyond the law. During the Trump administration's intensified immigration enforcement in Minnesota, known as Operation Metro Surge, federal agents came under intense scrutiny after multiple controversial incidents were filmed, and notably the killing of 2 American citizens. And the thing is, the administration, they wanted to frame ICE enforcement as solely targeting undocumented immigrants. You remember the worst of the worst, right? But the statistics run contrary to that.
So since Donald Trump, quote unquote, took down the temperature, an ICE agent on video threatening, you raise your voice, I erase your voice. You have agents trying to get into the Ecuadorian embassy because they think they can round up some illegals there. That's illegal based on international law. Told by someone who works at the consulate, back up. He says, if you touch me, I'll grab you. Kyle Cheney at Politico has been tracking the cases of folks who have been detained, found 2,300 cases since July alone where the judge has ruled that ICE has illegally detained someone.
The administration's own actions suggests that they know that something went wrong. I mean, look at the restructuring after the Minnesota backlash, with Kristi Noem removed from direct operational control and Tom Homan brought in to lead the response. If everything was going perfectly, why restructure? If the agents were fully under control, why change command? If the criticism was all just fake, why bring in a new leader?
Yeah, we're talking about $10 billion of ICE funding when they already got 75 to 80 billion in the reconciliation bill. But it does look like there are a number of Republican senators that are interested in having a conversation about bifurcating out the DHS funding, making sure the other 5 bills pass. And Senator Thune seems to be open to that conversation. So it does feel like this is a day of people speaking at least vaguely the same language, which I think is really healthy. Watching Tom Homan this morning and seeing some of the reaction, Kennedy's right, from moderates and some Democrats, very positive. I did see, Tom Homan is just like Greg Bovino. Absolutely not. This is an acknowledgement that what Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino were doing was not acceptable to the Trump administration even. And whether that's just because it boiled over because of the public reaction or how they genuinely felt, I don't know. But this is markedly different. And a few things that I jotted down that I think are really positive steps in the right direction. Tom Homan made sure that he acknowledged the fact that mistakes had been made. And he said, I would not be here if everything had been done perfectly. He said, I'm not here for photo ops, so taking his swing at Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino, but to seek solutions, which I think is borne out in the conversations that even Keith Ellison, Mayor Fry, and Tim Walz have mentioned. He says the mission will shift focus to criminals and people with charges. And Reuters is reporting that CPB officers have gotten the memo that they're no longer allowed to engage with agitators. So that means that you won't have an Alex Preddy situation again, hopefully. And he also said that no matter what's going on with the protests, that ICE and CPP must act professionally or they will be dealt with. And that flies right in the face of what J.D. Vance said about these guys having immunity for whatever their actions are. And I know he's tried to walk that back, but everyone remembers that was said originally. So call me a Pollyanna if you want. I think that everyone should be hopeful about where this can go and that maybe those bad hombres can be the ones that are out and we can not see this level of a surge to one of these cities again. And that's where I am today.
And if the public perception of ICE was stellar, then why is Trump endorsing a proposal to rename ICE as NICE? Yeah, that's right, in a Truth Social post. Trump shared the idea and wrote, great idea, do it. This is where the absurdity becomes almost too ironic, right? Because while judges are ruling against ICE by the thousands and ICE agents are speaking out against their own employers, Trump's apparent instinct is, well, what if we made the acronym nicer? But the thing is, you cannot rebrand your way out of misconduct. You cannot call ICE nice and just expect people to forget.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.